Hi, guys. Welcome to Broke Teachers Travel Podcast. I'm Marnie,
And I'm Jeff.
and today we're going to talk about preparing students for travel. This is something that you've done a few times. I've helped you a couple of times, and there's a little bit of thinking and pre-planning that goes into it.
Oh yeah, sure enough. It's a lot of great stuff. As you can tell, we're a little bit congested. We're back
Allergies are driving us crazy.
as teachers. Broke teachers going back to work. There's always that beginning of the year crud that just seems to go around. But we're gonna make it through this, so it's good stuff.
The first thing that you usually talk about is getting their passport.
Oh yeah, passport. So if you're going to travel international, you have to have a passport. There's some companies that can handle this for a fee, but it's really easy to do it yourself. Just if you're planning on going out of the country, you need to. They say 6 months. It usually doesn't take that long, but you need to go ahead and get that ball rolling as soon as you can.
Yeah, I've heard of a few delays lately, but it's just a temporary thing. So go ahead and give it a little bit of extra time just to be safe, I would think.
And remember that if you're traveling outside of the country, that passport has to be valid for 6 months?
6 months past the date that you're traveling.
So I know we're talking about kids here, but for you, if you have one and you're taking your kids with you or whatever, make sure that your passport is within that, because I know we've got to redo ours coming up.
Yeah. One of the things that I think is important is packing lists. A lot of these kids have never traveled anywhere before, and especially if you're going international, they don't know what to pack. Email them a list. They can print it out, check it off, and it makes things so much easier for them and their parents, I think.
Yeah, so just have them to go through it, and then you go back and, hey, the most important things, we say, hands on. So hands on your passport, hands on your money, hands on, there's 4 or 5 things that 100% when you arrive, you do one final check off, but make sure we go through that list and that list home.
Yeah, and maybe even when you're meeting with your kids before the trip, maybe even go over the list with them and explain why they have to do some of these things and have some of these things. And that way it helps them remember it a little bit better, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Get your documents ahead of time. That's one of the big things that you've got to make sure you're doing. Again, sometimes you're going to countries where they have visas. I know that the European Union just changed their deal with American citizens coming there, and it's not a tough process generally. When I was in Turkey, I got the visa online. It was like $20 and just had the hard copy and the take a picture of it.
Yeah, I think the European one is going to be $8.
Yeah, it's like $8.
I think so. It's not bad at all. Not at all. Something to remember when you're traveling with kids, teenagers, students of any kind, you are teaching them to travel. I mean, they don't just know this stuff. Not all of them have been before. You're teaching them how to do it. So teach them the correct way.
And one thing that you have to keep in mind is where you're from and where they're from. Because again, if you're from a kind of a rural community and you go to a city, a big city may be a town of 50,000 people. Well, when you go to a city of 10 million, it's a totally different mindset. So kind of make kids aware of those and things.
Yeah, and it can be a little overwhelming for some kids. So just keep them close, keep an eye on them, teach them how to do the things.
And I can tell you, it can be very overwhelming for adults, and sometimes I think it's even more overwhelming for adults than kids if they haven't been to that.
Yes, and especially knowing you're in charge of a group of kids. That makes it even more, I think, daunting a little bit in your head,
One of the interesting things that's happened with me is the last group of kids I travel with, I was showing them how to, look at the big monitors and see where the connecting flight is when you come up, and they're like, well, why don't you just do it on your phone? And so
the world of tech.
Now, again, so if your phone's dead, if something happens there, then but if you have it, it's,
use it.
On my epic trip home on my last adventure, I know my phone was was very, very valuable, and actually a student had taught me how to use that, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, they can figure out anything tech related in seconds. It's amazing. One of the things we always talk about is, and this is a big one that you stress because you usually travel with the upper grades
Right.
more, is the importance of getting their schoolwork
Oh yeah,
done like
yeah.
ahead of time.
That is the biggest thing. You want the kids to have a great time, and if you're traveling, over spring break, I know that we usually take a group of kids to Washington D.C. over over that spring break period. But there's usually a day or two before or after that they may miss school. So yeah, make sure that you go to your teacher and say, "Hey, I'm going to be out of town. These 2 or 3 days. Can you please give me anything that I'm going to need?" Or a couple of days, when I get back, what will I need to do? Because you don't want the kids to go and have this wonderful time and then just come back and be so stressed with all of the
Yeah.
schoolwork. But, really, they're kids. So make sure not only do they get it, but they do it.
Do it.
Right.
They're great about getting it.
Right.
It's the doing it part we have to remind them of sometimes. Make sure you have students store all the important contact info on their phones and on paper. Just a little index card tucked away in their wallet or backpack or whatever. Have them make sure they have all of that in case they get separated from the group. They're safe. They have a way to get in contact with you.
And I've seen this actually happen before that, when you get there, make sure that they take a picture or get a card from the hotel. So if they do get separated, that they know that that's what to do. Again, give them all of your information too. If you are, leading a group as a teacher or with your own kids, like Marnie said, you want to make sure that everything is in writing somewhere on their persons. If their phone goes dead, if their phone gets lost, if something gets stolen,
Yeah.
then they're not in a city of millions of people, absolutely terrified. And people there, in those cities, they have people. Law enforcement there could definitely help. And a lot of those places, most people those people in those positions speak English, and so but it is really helpful. Just as the kids could show me how to use the cell phone to do that the old school way. If technology does fail us, it's nice to have that.
Yes, that backup. And something we've talked about before is the airport process. I mean, it's big.
And again, it's one of those things that we have a very small airport where we live, and so
It's growing.
Yeah, it's growing, and there's two lines, and so you go through it, and if you're traveling just within your country, it's not a big deal. But understand, whenever you go there, if you have a laptop, that what needs to be brought out, and make sure that you tell them the proper sizes of things. We had a heartbreaking situation that this young man last year bought some honey for his grandmother up at Mount Vernon, and we go through security and it's over the amount, so he has to, and we'd already been past the point where we could check bags and everything, and so he ended up having to toss it. And I've had to do that with stuff that was, when they say 8 ounces?
3 ounces.
3 ounces, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
if it's 8 ounces, they will make you toss
Yeah.
it.
It's very strict, very. Something that I highly recommend is to practice. I know this sounds weird and your teenagers are going to grumble just a little bit, but they can learn from it. You need to practice. Practice the procedures for going through the airport. Practice how they should go into the plane. Teach them how to do that, how to put their luggage away. And this really helps to streamline things.
For me, the thing that I've learned personally is that for the kids, when you go through the security, you're going to take your shoes off, you're going to take your belts off. And so, it's not the time to wear your boots or to do
No.
those kind of things. Or, if you just have a pair of, jogging pants or whatever, wind pants that doesn't have that. I also, any of my phones and stuff, I usually have a hoodie that I could just, with zip up pockets that I could just take off, put it there as I walk through security. So one of the things, you've got kids kind of freaking out and everybody's in line and you're trying to get to your plane. So just, practice, perfect
'Cause
practice makes
they're
perfect.
trying to
Right.
rush to
Right.
get through there. So
Right.
leave the Doc Martens at home.
Right.
Wear something that slips on, and it makes it so much easier, and then they're less stressed.
Right. Or pack them, but
Yeah,
don't
pack them to take with you. Just don't wear them through the airport lines.
Yeah.
And something else that we've talked about before, and I want to hit on again, I think this is important even on school trips. have them pick something that they want to do that is within the realm of the basic itinerary. Like,
Right.
let them vote on it if you're taking a group.
And you know, and some of those things could be so cool. Like if you're going to a big museum or something like that. You know, for me and my daughter, she was in civics, and so we went to see the Magna Carta, and that was our big deal. And for my son and his buddies, they went and saw the original Beatles lyrics written on a napkin in the
Yeah.
same museum. And so, you know, it's nice for everybody to see the big things, but also, you know, when you're traveling with kids, let them enjoy things. You know, a lot of times there are, you know, toy factories for the young ones. There's
Yeah.
various kind of stores. There's candy stores. You know, there's just a lot of
Movie
little.
tours.
Yeah.
Like the Harry Potter
Oh yeah,
experience
yeah,
and all that. Yeah.
they did the Harry Potter one. I know that's
By
really
the way, I want to ride the train in Scotland.
all right. We'll do it then. Okay.
Just heads up.
Right,
Thought
right,
I'd throw that in
right.
while I had the opportunity.
Real quick, going back to how to travel, and I've seen this happen with us a couple of times with girls that were traveling. Those sizes, it's makeup and hairspray and all of that stuff. Make sure because I don't know. I guess hair products and all that stuff's expensive, but there was
Yes,
we
very.
we had a situation where a girl had to dump probably $100 worth of hair stuff and makeup. You
Buy
know,
the cheap travel sizes.
Right.
Makes a huge difference in your life. It'll be so much easier. Something else. Explain to the kids, especially teenagers who are going to be, on their own for little bits and pieces of time during a tour. Explain to them how the local public transit system works. Make sure they have some emergency money in case they get separated. It's usually not much for public transportation, but just make sure they keep it tucked away and don't spend that money. Have them label it and keep it on them just in case they, happen to wander away and need to get back to you.
and you know some cities have a little more complex public transportation. Some aren't. You know, like so Rome has one line and it goes all the way in. Paris has maybe three or four that you trade off depending on what area of the city you're going. But they have all of that online. You could also get maps of that printed out, and maybe have kind of a strategy session. Is kind of what I would suggest.
Yeah.
Is that this is how you do this, and this line goes this way, and this is how to read that, and then if you're going with your family or you as individuals, take a couple minutes to kind of walk those kids through the process of how to look at the gates and how to look at the platform numbers. Generally when you're with a tour group, they handle all
The
of that.
guide helps, but they can get separated.
right.
We've heard of instances of that actually. So you want them to know. And something along these same lines, if they're in there and they can't read the signage, if there's nothing in English, I'm not sure if Android phones do this or not, but I know iPhones do. You can snap a picture of the sign and get them to translate. You can highlight it and you can get it to translate it. So that's a pretty cool feature and very, very handy in a foreign country.
Well, why haven't you told me that?
I thought you knew that.
Well, I
Oops.
didn't. Hey, something I learned from Broke Teachers Travel.
Yes. Communicating in another language is just something that and they can also use it when they're speaking. You can use like Google Translate
Right.
and Siri and stuff to get, that help when you're talking to someone and, you need to know something and you need to know how to ask them the question.
And we'll do another podcast about phrases you need to know in languages. But for young kids, they pick up languages and things a lot easier.
Much better than adults. I have such a hard time.
Right. I do too. But please, thank you, hello, things like that. Where's the bathroom? How much? Those are kind of the 5 phrases. And in many cultures, a lot of people in those industries, the tourist industries and the big areas, they do speak English. But just to go into a shop and say hello in their greeting, at least it brings those people joy that, hey, this person at least is going to make an
Make the
attempt.
effort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that means the difference. It really
It
does.
really does because they know that you want to be there. They know that you're interested in their culture and, it shows respect. I feel like. One of the things that I like to remind you of, because working with little ones, this comes up a lot. If children are hungry, no matter what age, they're grumpy and things are not going to go well. So make sure they have snacks, whether you're doing a road trip or whether you're on the plane. Make sure the kids have snacks on them, because sometimes the plane food is not always great and they need something to hold them over till they can get somewhere to get something better.
It is funny you mentioned that. One of my go-to snacks is always beef jerky, and so we had a long layover, and we didn't have a lot of stuff. And the guy that I was traveling with said, "You still have any of that beef jerky?" And I'm like, "Yeah," but prior to that, he was making fun of me for my snack bag. Okay, it's amazing how that changes.
Yes, it is.
All right, this is one that Marnie probably should speak to more than me, but earbuds. In case those kids are in the room with someone who is really noisy or snores. I know that's not me. You've never...
No, never.
Okay.
Never.
But, so those earbuds help a lot. You could go as far as noise canceling headsets. I have one of those myself, and they're pretty cool. But understand, especially if you go on a tour, like through companies like WorldStride or EF. Generally for students, they're going to be 4 to a room. Okay, so that's a lot of snoring. That's a lot of whatever.
Just noises.
Yeah. So just to put those in, find their happy place. And again, you can get the noise canceling headsets for $30 or $40.
Yeah, they also have earbuds that will filter out certain noises as well, and then you can still hear things if you need to. Like if the tour leader's knocking on your door or anything, you can still hear that, but you're not getting all that other background noise.
Right.
You can filter it out. And something that I think is very important: make sure that students make everyone else aware of any allergies they have. This can be an issue on a plane. It can be an issue in a restaurant. You need to know if they carry an EpiPen, make sure they have it on them. It's just safe practice.
We have actually traveled with students that, had like a bee sting allergy. Is that the word, allergy? And so they had that, and make sure that they have it, but that we know the chaperone knows where it is, how to administer it, if it's any special directions or things of that nature. But and if you're traveling on the plane, you can contact the airline, and they could give you specific menus that are gluten-free or vegan or anything like that.
Just be careful, and again, pack the snacks, because I have heard of them running out of those foods on airlines.
That does happen.
So make sure they have some backup there of some kind.
And again, the big thing for traveling with students, young people, or just going out there and with that group of people, it's about them having fun and them enjoying it.
It's not about your agenda.
Right.
It's about them.
And that's the big thing. So, give some time if you go on one of these trips, and it's, you're used to not going 2 or 3 miles a day walking, and all of a sudden you go to 10 mile days, and that does happen.
Practice. Start walking.
Just kind of take some time to chill. If your crew is just physically exhausted, you need to sit down for a few minutes. You tell your tour guide, look, this is what I need to do, and we've had issues with a young lady that had some knee surgery, and she was cleared to go, and she was walking, and it got to a point where
she needed a break,
and we were climbing steps and stuff. And so the tour guide just said, hey, well, we'll just get you a taxi from here to there, and then everybody else will walk it. And so that was just a really cool thing. But remember, those options are always there. But take care of the kids, make sure that they stay properly hydrated. Those are things that we don't always think about, and as adults, we could say, well, we're going to be hydrated, we're going to do this and that, but for the kids, look after them.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's going to do it for today, guys. Thanks so much for following us and hanging out with us and leaving us comments. We love to talk travel with you guys. Remember, hit that like and subscribe button down below, and follow us on all the social media channels. We loved hearing from you. And remember, break the monotony,
not the bank.
Bye, guys.
Have a great week.